So there's a lot of sound design tutorials out there that are kind of just like,
yeah, so you basically want to start by turning this knob to this position, and then turn this knob to this position, and then the final result will sound something like.
But I thought it might be just a little bit more useful to talk about how the sounds work in the context of the rest of the mix. So today I'm going to show you how I went about making some of the sounds from the last track that I just released. So first I want to talk about how I made this sound. So this sound is one of 3 parts and is actually a serum bass. So this is just your pretty typical FM bass where I'm taking this saw wave and then modulating it by this shape that I still don't know the name of, and this is what it sounds like with no effects on it. And then if we turn off the serum effects. So while I was working on this track, I really wanted this sound to be the main thing going on in the first half of the drop, so I added a bunch of distortion and compression here to kind of make it a little bit more impactful. And then the chorusing and the hyperdimension, this is basically a static chorus where the rate isn't moving, and then we have a bunch of depth and a little bit of feedback. But this is basically here just to add a little bit of variation to the stereo field, making it sound a little bit fuller as well. So after it runs through all of the effects inside of Serum, it then runs through all of these effects on this mixer insert. So what's going on here is basically just a bit more compression to bring everything out a bit more, a little bit of EQing, a chroma in this pretty thin band, a saturator, and then this is pretty interesting, a gross beat, just to kind of add a little bit of movement. It's pretty subtle. And then we add a soft clipper, a bit more EQing in the stereo field, and then a bit more weird EQing here, and then we run it through a reverb. So after this runs through all of these effects, it actually then runs through all of these effects on this other insert, where I'm basically just adding a bit more saturation to get everything kind of sounding saturated the same way. So after it runs through the saturator, it then runs through this plug data, which is basically just here to add a separate sub bass, a more consistent sub bass at D sharp. And you can even add some wave shaping or noise or even a notch filter if you want to. It takes this detection signal, which you can specify here, and then cuts everything by this frequency, and then adds a consistent sub bass under it. I think this is pretty cool to get a very consistent sounding sub bass over the course of the track. This thing's pretty awesome. This is made by Nasco. So then it's actually layered with this sound, which is another serum. So what this is a dispersed saw wave, and basically the best way I can think of explaining it is you take a saw wave and you put a disperser on it, and this is kind of the effect that you would have. So I'm basically taking this and running it through a filter, where I'm really just looking to get that vowel-y movement. So then I'm running this through the same effects as before, then I just layer this other wavetable on top. Okay, so the last sound that I wanted to kind of touch on for this part was this sound right here. It's kind of bad. So this sound, I'm pretty sure, was created by this reactor. So all I did was take a default saw wave and then run it through a bandpass band reject combo, which is then run through this warp mode, I guess, dissonance effect. But you basically just take a little tiny bit of it here. It kind of disperses the high end a little bit in a way that I kind of find interesting. It's like almost like a detune effect. Yeah, so this runs through a vocoder, which then runs through a disperser, which then runs through a high-pass filter just to get the high end, and then that gets distorted, which then gets sent back out into FL Studio. And I think what I did here was take this and run it through a bunch of other effects as well. So through these effects, we go from something like this to something like this. Just a lot more diffuse, and I think fills up a lot more space in the mix and in the right ways. I think the most important thing going on here would be this convolver. Really changes the stereo field. So then I'm actually using this infiltrator here. I think I have this automated on and off. put on this bandpass filter here just to kind of help control the high end and specify when I do want the high end to come in and when I don't. So then I took that and recorded it out and then layered it with these sounds, and then you get... So when they're all layered together like this, I think they work a lot better than if they were separate. I don't really think any one of these sounds individually would have made the drop as impactful as all three of them layered together. So yeah, that's a little bit about how I do my sound design in the context of a full track. So I hope you guys took something from this, and I will catch you guys in the next one.